I will be talking about Australian visas and some updates of the latest updates of the Australian visas as well. My name is Sashika Ashani, and I'm from Sirus Migration. So let's get started. I think we'll talk about global talent to start with. As you already know, global talent visa, it's fairly new compared to a lot of Australian visas. And why I wanted to talk about this is the visa itself, the criteria is kind of changing soon. So if you are eligible, if you believe you're eligible for global talent visa, then we highly recommend you to submit an expression of interest for this visa category, because if the visa is granted, you are getting direct permanent residency. And Australia has some global talent sectors that they have allocated. Mario, can you go to the GTI target sectors? Yeah, that's it. So as you can see, the target sectors for global talent are resources, agri-food and agri-technology, energy, health industries, defense, advanced manufacturing, circular economy, digitech, infrastructure and tourism, financial services, and education. So if you believe that you're in the top tier of any of these target sectors, and you are earning the high income threshold, which is $175,000 per annum, or you have the potential to earn that amount once you start working in Australia, then you are welcome to apply for this global talent visa. And you don't need to be in Australia for this. You could be anywhere in the world, and there is no age limit, there is no English requirement, and there is no education requirement. You just have to make sure that you are in the top tier of any of these sectors and have the potential to earn the high income and contribute to Australia. We have had success in health industries and all these other industries with this global talent, and we are quite expert in that. So if you believe you're eligible, please get in touch with us, and happy to have a look and get a global talent EUI lodged. I've got a question already. Hello, is invitation it's possible to get on 80 points for chemist offshore as per current backlogs? I think it's a 50-50 chance. 80 is sort of like the cutoff for most of the states. But some states have mentioned that they are giving equal priority to offshore versus onshore. So I think it's a good chance, definitely worth lodging an expression of interest. We will talk about skill migration in a little bit, and I will explain this bit further. But for now, I guess let's go to employee-nominated visas before we go to skilled migration. Do we have the map? Yeah. So the next visa I'm going to talk to you, I think most of you are aware of this, and some people aren't aware. When people are trying for skill migration, there is a whole nother set of visas available for people who are working in demanded occupations. These visas are called subclass 482, subclass 494, 186. They all visas need an employer. So if you have an Australian employer or an overseas employer going to establish in Australia, then you are eligible for this employee-nominated visa. Each of these visas have different criteria, like the age, the English requirement, the work experience requirement, the qualification requirement. They all differ, but the concept behind all of these visas are quite simple. You need to have an employer, you need to be skilled, you need to have work experience, and your employer has to offer you the this annual market salary rate, which is the justifiable salary for your occupation. As long as all these criteria are met, there is a good chance that we can go through this employee nominated visas in order to go to permanent residency. So that's another way of getting permanent residency in Australia. So if you're not sure about these visas, myself, I've done many videos about subclass 482 and how these visas work. I've broken it down for people to understand as much as I can. So go and see these videos in our YouTube channel, and do some research and come back to us or a migration agent to find out if you're eligible for this visa as well. Don't just focus on skilled migration, and I will also tell you why you should look into other options, just not the skilled migration, in a little bit as well. Okay, we've got another question, and also I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to ask me questions about Australian visas, any type of Australian visa, and I'm happy to provide the answer to you in the session itself, or if not, we will definitely get back to you after the session if I can't get through all the questions. I've got Nadira's asking, my spouse is a physiotherapist and she is having 4 researchers and 2 years experience. Is there a skill migration pathway for her? So if she's a physiotherapist and if she is eligible to, first of all, what you need to find out is how your spouse can get a registration. Mario, can I please get some water? Registration in Australia. So for physiotherapists, without the registration, and they need supervision as well for the first year or 2, without that they can't get any visa to Australia. So first of all, you need to figure out what is the process to get that registration. Once we can get a limited registration even, then she can look at different pathways for skilled migration. And I have dealt many cases in the past. From your name, I can see that you're from Sri Lanka. I have dealt with physiotherapists from Sri Lanka where they get a direct sponsorship from an Australian employer. So there is a way for Sri Lankan qualifications to be translated to Australia and turned into a license, and then we can go through either the skill migration or the employer nominated pathway for physiotherapists. Right, so let's go back to the employer nominated visas again. So as I was saying, with employer nominated visas, that's also a good pathway for permanent residency. So you don't need to rely on any point systems. Normally for skill migration, people say you need 80 points, 100 points, and with how many numbers each state has got allocated, the numbers have either stayed the same or gone down. And I think people should focus more on employer nominated visas, because there is no such points requirement. As long as the employer agrees and you're eligible and the employer is eligible, that's it. It can come together nicely without having to get the superior English or any other requirements. Right, so I think this is a very simple breakdown of the employer nominated visas and what are the requirements. Now let's move on to general skill migration. General skill migration has been quite active recently. Today we are receiving invitations for subclass 189. We have seen many invitations. It's a very exciting day for myself and I'm sure all the other migration agents as well and applicants. We have received many invitations for 189s. We've got invitations for civil draftspersons, engineers, health professionals, IT professionals. So we can see that it's a spread of occupations, not just 1 or 2 occupations. And points wise, we've seen invitations for from 80 points all the way up. We have seen invitations. And English wise, what we kind of figured out is people with high English has gotten the invitations. So, and they have been quite generous with the 189 invitations, as we can see, which is really good. And we are hoping to get hopefully more invitations in the coming days for 189. For people who doesn't know, 189 is the independent skill migration, where you don't get any extra points from the state. Then again, you're not obliged to stay in any one state or in regional or anything like that. This is independent skill migration. It's also exciting that most of the states are open for subclass 190 and subclass 491. I thought I will talk about Western Australia today. Western Australia has been open for quite some time now, and Western Australia is giving invitations. They have invitation rounds every month, and Western Australia is one of the only states that they invite people from offshore as well as interstate, and they have 2 occupation lists. One is mainly the health occupations, and then there's the other occupation list that has all the other occupations that's categorized into different sectors of the economy. And another special thing about Western Australia nomination scheme is that they have whole different system for Western Australian graduates as well as people who did not graduate in Western Australia. I think they have quite a good number of allocations for both 190 and 491. As you can see, I think in the screen we have given all the allocations for all the states. Western Australia has 3,000 places and 2,000 places for subclass 491. 5,000 places altogether. That is really good number of places. So if you believe that you are eligible under Western Australia WAMSOL 1 or 2, I think it's definitely worth submitting an EOI for Western Australia. But keep in mind, a good tip for Western Australia is I think you should really commit to Western Australia if you're going to go through with that, and try not to lodge too many EOIs for too many other states, and just go with Western Australia. Read and understand their criteria, make sure you fulfill everything, or talk to a migration agent. They'll be able to see whether it's worth doing this, because whatever the points you claim in your EOI, there comes a time you have to prove it. We get many clients coming to us after they got invited, before they submit the nomination, realizing that they claimed their points wrong. Unfortunately, in that case, you have already wasted that place. No one's going to get that place, and you're not going to get that invitation. So it's very important that you get it right the first time and claim your points right, because there you will have to prove everything that you claimed in your EOI before you get invited. So my point is, make sure that you know what you're doing. Don't just go and tick buttons and lodge an EOI, then realize, oh, I did the wrong thing, because you will not get that invitation and it will go to waste. So as I said, Western Australia is a great state. I will talk more deeply about New South Wales as well next time. New South Wales also a really good state for you to apply for, as well as Queensland and Victoria. South Australia again is a really good state, and they have got quite a good number of invitations as well. I've got Amaya asking, I have applied for a 2 visa, civil engineer, in the month of March, and still no response from department. Is it common these days? Yes, that is such a good question, Amaya, and yes, it is common. 482 visa team has been quiet in the last 2 to 3 months. We also have many pending applications. Before this slowness happened, 482 visas were granted in less than 1 month, and then sometimes even 1 week, 2 weeks. But now I have seen from March until now, there is a bit of a hold up, and we are hoping that it will get cleared hopefully very soon. But make sure, Maya, that if you are applied for 482, make sure your health is done, your police clearances are done, your employer has put everything for the nomination. If you've done that, then your visa will come soon after your nomination. So that's the only thing you can do at this stage. I don't think it's any point following up with them yet if you only lodged it in March. And if you're onshore, you must have gotten your bridging visa with work rights as well. And we do have free consultations for all employee-nominated visas. Get in touch with us, and we should be able to assist you with your inquiries. Right. So, general skill migration, I would like to just go back to the allocations a bit and go over that to explain what I told earlier. The camera's covering it a bit, but that's okay. So I've got Australian Capital Territory, 1,000 places for 190 and 800 places. And you can see the New South Wales numbers and Northern Territory. So as you can see, the total number of allocations for 491 is 9,760, and for 190, sorry, I have to go over the camera, it's about 10,000 something for I think 190. With these numbers, you can see it's not altogether it's 16,500. So you can see that it's not a big number of allocations compared to the people who are waiting to get an invitation from Australia. That is why I always suggest my clients, even when they come to see me sit in the office, even for skill migration, but I normally talk to them and find out if there's another opportunity for them to get permanent residency. Sometimes it could be a 482 or 186 visa, or sometimes it could be a partner visa, sometimes it could be a different visa. So it's always good to I think it's understand what you want to achieve, and maybe to achieve your goal, skill migration is not the only pathway. That is what I want to keep highlighting people. Don't just focus on skill migration and look for other options as well. I know 482 visas are taking a bit longer, but that doesn't mean that 482 visas, I think department wants to put this onto the employers a bit more as well, from what I have seen. So if you need people, then you should go and sponsor them and take the responsibility from your side as well. And also subclass 189 general skill migration can also be a good option. Don't just rely on the states and look for other options. Now that brings me to our partner visa. Right, Australian partner visa. Sometimes people do get confused a bit with partner visas and dependent visas. First of all, I will tell you the difference. Australian partner visa is when the sponsor or one of the two partners is an Australian citizen, Australian permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealand citizen. A dependent visa is if both parties are not Australian and one person is holding a temporary visa, which could be a 482 work visa or a student visa, any other visa. So people who are holding a temporary visa, they can also apply for their partners and their children to come to Australia. That is through a subsequent entrant of their own visa. So the secondary applicant also get the same similar type of visa. But the Australian partner visa, on the other hand, there's two types. Subclass 820, if the non-Australian is currently in Australia, then you are eligible for the onshore partner visa. And there's two ways to do that. You either have to be married to your Australian partner, or you can be in a de facto relationship. The common way to prove the de facto relationship is if you guys are in a relationship committed for each other for at least 12 months. If not, some states allow you to register a civil partnership. Then that certificate makes it valid to apply for a partner visa. So this partner visa, it's a two-stage process. So you kind of lodge a combined application for the both 820, 801, which is the temporary and the permanent visa. 2 years from lodging the temporary visa, you are eligible to lodge your permanent visa. But keep in mind though, with this, you have to keep proving that, keep proving to the department every few months that your relationship is still ongoing. Unless you do that, I think department can come and question that is this visa is just for the sake of getting the visa and the relationship is not ongoing. That's where you can get into trouble. And another tricky thing about partner visa is if the Australian partner or the applicant has any criminal history or any major health issues. So if you have anything like that, and if you still want to do a partner visa, it is possible, but it's better that you talk to a migration agent who's done partner visas before, who's got experience, to make sure that what are the potential issues that can happen, Can the visa be refused? If that, what happens, and how do we deal with that? One of the reasons for this is the partner visa is one of the most expensive visas. It's right now it's $9,095 for the visa application, and it takes about 1.5 to 2 years. So it's very important that you get it right the first time, otherwise you'll be wasting a lot of time and money on the partner visa. The second type of partner visa is for the people, one Australian citizen or permanent resident is in Australia or offshore, and also the partner is not in Australia, they are offshore. In this case, you are eligible for again partner visa, but the offshore. So it is lodged when you're outside of Australia, and you have to be outside of Australia for the grant, and then only you can come inside the country. So it's a bit tricky because again the processing time is about 1.5 to 2 years, and you could be away from your Australian partner for that long. But unfortunately, unless you come to Australia on a temporary visa, you have to be offshore for this lodgement. But again, this could be a really good option for if you have an Australian partner to come and live here permanently. And for people who are onshore lodging partner visas, they get a bridging visa A, and they get full-time work rights, and they get Medicare access straight away after lodging a partner visa. Let's move to parent visa. Again, parent visas. There are many different parent visas available for Australians to bring their parents to Australia to live with them permanently or temporarily. But if you're not Australian, then there's only one way to bring your parents to Australia. Excuse me, I'm a bit unwell today, so I'll be coughing up a bit. So if you're not Australian, if you're on a temporary visa, then the only way to bring your parents to Australia is by applying for a visitor visa. But if you're an Australian citizen or permanent resident, again an eligible New Zealand citizen, then you can bring your parents to Australia to live here temporarily up to 3 years or 5 years. And if you can meet the balance of family test, which is at least 50% of the children are Australians, then you can bring your parents to live in Australia permanently. So these different visas have different costs involved. You can get in touch with us, and then we can first find out about your eligibility and your parents' eligibility, and then based on that we can tell you the cost involved, and also we can tell you how long the process takes and what the parents are eligible for under each kind of visa category. So get in touch with us, and we are happy to look at your situation and give you personalized advice for parent visas. I think that's just a bit of a wrap up of the parent visas. And do we have anything else that we are covering? I think we are done. That's it for today. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back in 2 weeks time. And until then, if you have any questions, please send us an email, give us a call. We are always here to assist you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again.